Hello, here we are once again. Qatar this time, as I mentioned last time. One thing I'm going to do first, though, is show my allegiance to my faithful Ferrari, despite it being a terrible season. So here we are, Qatar. Of course, race, of course, before here in the lovely Lusail track. Um, of course, it's interesting that, of course, we have Pirelli who set the tyre limits, don't we, on how many laps we can run the tyres for. So it's going to be interesting to see this weekend. It's saying a maximum of 25 laps. It does include qualifying in that as well as some practice sessions, I believe. So it's going to be interesting to see how it works. But it's quite a good way for a second season running to see more stops, really. So, and that's what the F1 are trying to do. They're trying to make it so at least there's 2 stops minimum, make it a bit more exciting for us as fans. But we'll see what happens because, of course, Lando could potentially win the championship this weekend as well. But of course, before I say we dive into that, we don't do that one here. I could do it, but this is enough as it is. Let's jump in to Lusail here in Qatar. So once again, using the Ferrari SF25, hurtling down the straight, DRS open, approaching 180, 185, possibly 190 miles an hour. And as you saw there, braking just before the line. Okay, so I brake just before the line, which is about the 50-meter. Well, it is in line with the 50-meter board. There we go, perfect. So going 8th gear, pretty much there. You don't have to go into 8th there. I do. Again, just trying to reach top speed before getting into that corner because I will do one where you actually see me change. I have the camera on me to change gears and that on the controller when I do it on the Xbox. But when it comes to this and the straight we've got here, I love to brake as late as possible and change down as many gears as possibly can as well, because you're going from 8th, like I would do on this, all the way down to 5th. Because being in 5th in this corner, as you're about to see, you get to go round that corner nicely around that corner, kissing the apex, just following that racing line round. And that's exactly what you want when it comes to this type of track. Okay, not just seeing the time that I done first time around whilst doing this, 1:26.1. Not bad. So, because again, drifting out, you want it to be on that curb. You want it on there. Okay. So nicely perfect on that curb. Yes, I'd probably say I would probably be able to come over a bit more to the right, if I'm being completely honest. But in all honesty, that is pretty much bang on line what you want. Okay, that is pretty much what you want from this. You want that bang on line, gradually put the power down. So it starts going through the revs and that again, going to 6th before we reach this lovely corner, quickly braking down or braking again, back into 5th. But in this instance, I went down to 4th. The reason why I'd done that was because, again, getting that traction, getting that grip of the car so we can put that power down nice and early. So just coming through here now, apex ever so slightly there, but as you saw there, just rear ever so slightly wiggling. Again, that's down to setup. Okay, so as I've posted on my Insta, they're just trying to drive F1, and of course on YouTube as well. Everything I get for setup wise is through Sim Racing setups. They're absolutely fantastic website. The guys are absolutely dedicated to creating these types of setups that we can use for free, basically, which is absolutely amazing. You know, so please do go check them out and try their setups. There's loads on there that you can choose from. I use the ones that I'm more comfortable with because, as I've mentioned in these now as well, I like to have the rear end a little bit loose. So then I can, even though, yes, some of them I will be using steering wheel, but I like to feel that rear end a little bit just to catch it ever so slightly, just try and control it a bit. So I do like that. Okay. So carrying on with this thing, going through the gears now, 5th, 6th, 7th, sticking with 7th here as well, braking about 70 meters before this corner because you want that grip to go right through the corner, okay, and be able to hit those apexes all the way through it, okay, not just hitting one then going completely wide off the track because then that's track limits. So you want to be able to hit all those corners, all those apexes all at once. So this is going down to 5th gear, and flying into that corner, again, hitting that apex nicely, going through there. It's going all too well so far. A bit odd, really. As you've seen with the first two, I do make mistakes. This is weird. But coming out, and just seeing that there, I do slide a little bit coming out of that corner. So I do lose the rear end a little bit there. But again, it's all about having that grip and that feel with the car. Okay, so coming down into the corner here now. Again, quick braking, changing gears quite quickly like I tend to do with these. In future, I will do the onboard ones rather than these overview ones. It will be easier. But here's down to the fourth. Okay, I could do third, but again, with the power these cars have, and again based on setup, you could lose the rear end and you can spin or even go off track. So it's best to keep it in fourth, have that grip. Again, these cars are more than powerful enough to launch in fourth, which we're about to see now. Okay, so nicely getting power down there, fourth gear, kissing that curb, just, and carrying on hurtling down, changing through the gears. It's going too well. Again, braking into there, going down into fourth this time. So again, getting that little bit of flexibility there. If I was to do this again, I would go fifth in this corner. Again, it's looking at that grip, it's looking at that ground effect for it. Because again, as mentioned, with these V6 turbo engines that we've got, or hybrid engines that we've got, they've got the power and they've got the kick in order to get the car back up to speed again. So fourth or fifth of this is fine. Okay, because with that, you then launch yourself into this complex. Okay, nice corners there. Coming up to this corner now, going into sixth, braking right the way down to fourth for that one. So back again like it was a few corners ago, a few turns ago, down to fourth, power down, get that nice grip coming out of the corner. Okay, hurtling down now. Again, go through fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. You do want it to be eighth gear here though, because with this, you can go flat out through the corner. Okay, as flat out as much as you possibly can. That's the main thing with this. Okay, so going into it in eighth, hitting that apex nicely, coming out ever slightly, going through again. That was very close to track limits there. And what I did actually do in this corner was I changed down to seventh before going into this. Okay, because you could actually do it all the way flat out in eighth, but you lose so much speed, so much time. So flicking it, well, putting it down to seventh there actually gives you a bit more grip and a bit more speed. Okay, and again, going into here, change down to sixth again, because again, we want to be able to put that power down, keep that revs high, although it doesn't do the engine any good, but you want to keep those revs high. So again, you've got that grip, you've got that ground effect actually working actually in your favor, which is fantastic. Okay, then coming into the final couple of corners. So with this one, yes, I do change up to seventh quite quickly with this one. But when it comes to it and comes to this braking zone, I dab a little bit on the brakes and go back down to sixth, which you can do this corner in sixth, because you can, again, flat out, okay, a little bit tail happy at the end there going through that corner. But if I let it go, drift it a little bit more, I would use more of the curb. But again, I think the tricky bit with this part, it's track limits, okay, and that's one thing we don't want is track limits, because otherwise, if you're putting a stonking good lap together like this one seems to be today for some reason, you go across the curb, so going across that nice little curb here, probably won't be able to see the mouse, but going across that curb there, and you lose your time. So you can drift out a bit, and I probably would do that next time, just let the car drift out a bit more. But again, we've got to be careful. Okay, because again, if you feel like it's going to be a cracking lap, going to be an amazing lap, and then it goes wrong because of track limits. That's what we've got to be careful of. So heading into the final corner now, again, going through the gears of seventh and then braking down to fourth in this one. I have tried it whilst doing this one, experimenting of either going for it in fourth, which is what I did in the end, or in fifth. And I found that doing it in fifth, the rear end twitches so much when going into fifth into this corner, just again, trying to put that power down. It didn't work for me. So in future, doing this in F1 career or another time trial just to keep practicing and everything else, fourth gear, because again, you can feather that throttle down. I don't go out as far as I should do. But again, by me going down into fourth, coming out of that corner nicely, I'm able to go up into fifth straight away and again, put that power down. And that is essentially it. Hurtling down, DRS open, sixth, seventh gear, and across the line for 125.6. Brilliant. So again, just looking at my times from previous games, because as we established last time, generally tend to be between 1.5 to 2 seconds slower than the previous game F125 is. So F123 was a 124.1. Okay, so that's a good time. But the cars and the actual mechanics and the models for F123 were perfect, nigh on perfect. The best game since F120 or 2020, sorry. So best game since then, with the mechanics and the grip and things like that. It's perfect. It's amazing. And then last year's game, 124.6. Okay, or 6999 as I've put on my phone here. So looking at that F124 time, looking at what I've posted there for 125.657, that's not bad actually. Yes, it's a second off, but that's not bad. That's really good. That's not bad at all. That's good. So this is actually the first one that's not gone too bad. I'm pleased with that. That's really good. So yeah, there's not much to add on this one. Of course, you've heard me say what I'll do differently next time in some of the corners here, but generally the Losail circuit is an absolute brilliant circuit, especially in games because yes, it's out in the desert. Yes, we're going to have sand and everything else, but you're able to put that power down and be able to have that grip there, which is what you want for a track like this. So you can set times like that, if not even quicker. So it's absolutely perfect. Okay. But I said there's not much else for me to say, really. That's quite disappointing. Didn't think this one through for Qatar this week. Okay. So we'll move on to not Qatar. We're in Qatar now. Next week, Abu Dhabi. Might as well. It's the final race of the season. Might as well finish off as the F1 calendar does as well. And we'll go from there. So we'll see you again next Friday. For the next post for the F1 analysis series for just trying to drive F1. But you haven't done so yet. As I mentioned, go and have a look at the sim racing setups. See the setups they've got in F125, because it's not just F125 they do it for. They do it for loads of other games as well, which are racing focused. Have a look. Try some of their setups. You won't regret it. It's absolutely brilliant the work the guys do. Honestly, absolutely brilliant. But until next Friday and Abu Dhabi, I wish you all the best, and we'll see.